Hey everybody, how's it going? Michael here. I am joined with Miss Jacqueline Pinol. Did I say that
Yes,
right? Yes,
yeah.
we practiced that like 20 seconds before I introduced myself, and I told her I was going to get it wrong. And she is joining me today, and we are talking Spider-Man. We're going to talk a little bit about her career, a little bit about herself. We're going to talk about the difference between recording voice and recording in front of a camera because Miss Jacqueline is also an actress in more than one ways. We're also going to talk about her ability to learn multiple languages. That's one thing that I have been kind of wondering about. And of course, we're going to talk about her foundation. And we're going to learn so much about you today, Miss Jacqueline.
Oh,
So
okay. Let's do
I
it.
hope you're ready for that. So let's start off with the biggest reason that we're here, Spider-Man.
Yes,
You got
finally.
yes, you got to voice Miss Rio Morales, and the game just came out a few days ago at the time of this interview. So how are you feeling about the game finally being out and everybody can finally get their hands on the game? You can finally talk about the game. You can talk about your acting and your character and the writing. You can finally let it all out now. So how does that feel?
Oh, so good. It's such a relief. It's like when you know that you're throwing a surprise party for someone and you can't talk about it. It's like I feel like that character Kristen Wiig from SNL that would always go, she's always covering her mouth because she like couldn't blurt out anything. And so finally, it's so nice to be able to say things, even to friends and family who I always just kept it in wrapped because you just never know, I don't want to get in trouble. But it's great and the response is amazing. Truly so glad that from what I can tell, I think the gamers are pleased. And it's so good to be a part of a project that Insomniac and Marvel, they really outdid themselves. Just when you thought they had already done that, they top it. And it's incredible. I feel really honored to be able to be a small part of this and give voice and life to Rio.
That's so awesome. Well, before we even get too far into that, you actually have something right behind you that I think a lot of gamers would love.
Want me to show you?
So right in the back, we have
Here,
Venom
yeah,
fighting both the Spider-Man.
right. Yes, I'm very, very careful with him, it, them. I just love this piece, and it was a gift uh, from Insomniac. So thank you, Insomniac, for this amazing. I feel like it's a museum sculpture, like it's just so beautiful. And my 7-year-old son wanted it for his room. He thought he was going to put it next to his other Miles Morales stuff. I'm like, no, buddy, this one's mine. So we're keeping this. This is the entrance of our home, and so we're keeping it here.
Oh, you have Venom guarding the front entrance of the
Yeah,
house.
exactly. It's like the centerpiece.
So it
So
was
that's
great because before we even started, like Jacqueline was like, "Look what I got in the background!" Like she was so proud. She's so proud of having that thing displayed, and it looks
I
so
love it.
cool. So like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
always so awesome when actors and actresses can take a piece of their work home with them, especially when it comes to like a video game. It's like, yeah, I get to take home this giant 19-inch like figure
Yeah.
with me just because I voiced the character. And I'm sure your son loves this. Like, oh yeah, my mom's in Spider-Man. Like, they
You
get to
know,
voice Rio.
he's more excited about Miles. He loves Miles. He has a Najee, when he did one of his signings at one of the Comic Cons, gave him a stuffed animal, Miles Morales. And my son
Oh,
sleeps with that thing and he takes off the shoes and he puts them to the side. Then he goes to sleep. Then he wakes up, puts on the little sweater and the shoes. I mean, it's hilarious. So he is actually, mommy's just mommy to
uh,
him. So Rio's like, oh, yeah, uh huh. Anyway, Miles, Peter, like that's like the focus for him. But I, of course, enjoy having that as part of his journey in life. And later on, maybe when he grows up, he'll be like, oh my God, mom, you're real. Like it might like click in later. But he's 7 right now. So he's still just all about Miles and Peter.
oh, well, that's so cool that you get to have that part with him. Like, you all get to share something so cool about Spider-Man. Like, everybody loves Spider-Man. Uh,
Everybody.
yeah, but you and your son now you have like this piece of history with each other when it comes to something you both obviously love and enjoy. Because you sound so excited about being able to play Rio, about coming back and being her.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Rio for a moment in Spider-Man. I know it's like that's not really something that people think about too often, but she had actually a pretty important part in the first game to where she went from just being mom and she was going to take a bigger part in the city, in her town, in her neighborhood by running to be mayor, by
Exactly.
becoming a bigger part of that. So in the sequel, like, how did you prepare to have a much bigger part as Miss Rio, other than just being Miles, Mijo, are you okay? Like, what are you? But
Right.
now you're a much bigger part of the world overall.
I think it was definitely unexpected. And from game to game, I've never known if I'm coming back. Um, you know, Part of the excitement is really not knowing which direction anything is going when a new game comes out. So with the Miles Morales game, it was very surprising and it was I felt a lot of responsibility, um, because I felt like we had established a really important relationship in Miles's life after he lost his dad, that the mom would be the voice and his center, his grounding center, because he was, out there, unbeknownst to me at the time, doing all kinds of things that could be dangerous, that he could, lose his life and too. So, as we jumped into the Miles Morales game, that's what brought out the heart of this character, obviously, for Rio. And to me, it was very moving to see after that game came out how viewers and gamers connected with it, of all ages from around the world. And it's important. I think it says a lot about, um, where we are as a society, is that we want to be all inclusive. We yearn for those relationships in our own lives. To believe it or not, I know it's just a video game to some people, but I get messages and very kind letters that people say that my performance or the way that the character came across reminded them of someone they loved in their life who is either no longer with them or who they love and admire now, which is their aunt or their grandmother or their mom. There's an essence of Rio in everyone's family. And that means a lot, because that's what carries us in life. A lot of these relationships that are positive, that are encouraging, that give us strength and empowerment, we all need them. So it is kind of cool that the writers and that Insomniac Games brought that element into the game, even though it's all about being action packed and the heroes and the playable characters. There's just this other element that enriches everyone to a degree. That's why I felt a lot of responsibility to deliver and bring her to life in a very loving, nurturing, but strong, being a strong voice.
Yeah, I know my mom would be the same way if like I was ever Spider-Man. She would just stress and worry about it. Like, mom, come on, I'm like super powered. Like, there's very few things that hurt me. It's like, yeah, I don't care. So
Exactly.
yeah, I've always loved the relationship Miles had with his mother. I guess because it did get kind of close to me because my mom is most definitely the closest person to me. So like Miss Rita was always kind of like that character I've always liked, because yeah, I didn't like, when she worried about Miles, it's for reasons. Like that's her baby boy, especially since that's her only child. Uh, so when you're working with Insomniac Games
Mhm.
and they have to keep so many things secret, when it comes to the script, how often did things change to where they had to hide some things from you? And then when it came down to recording, some things changed, lines changed, the characters changed, settings. Like how chaotic does it get?
Surprisingly, I have to applaud this whole production, because they have it together. I mean, at least that's what it looks like to me. They might be, behind closed doors going, ha ha ha, Jackie thinks we have it together. But but from the time we did the table read in the very beginning, not much changed. Some things shifted, or were given more life or less life, meaning it was either less important to bring out certain things and they brought out others more. But the scope of what was there or laid out in the original script is there. And then lines, sure, because we do motion capture on stage, and we're all, you know, in our scenes, kind of like shooting a live action movie. When we go do the voice, we always record most of the voiceover in a studio that's a sound stage, like a individual studio, but they do use the audio from when we're live recording our scenes. So it's a blend. And sometimes we may have missed lines, want to change lines, add lines. So it's very minimal. And there are only the surprises that come to us sometimes are like when I say the elements have been enhanced or stories have been added after the original script. We would show up on set and be like, so this is what's happening. And we'd be like, oh, cool, more. It was always more. So that's the exciting part, I think. But it didn't get chaotic. I have to say, it was just a long, meticulous process. 2 years, 2+ years, maybe of
Oh,
just,
wow.
yeah, yeah,
That's amazing to hear.
yeah.
2 years of recording. Okay, so I have spoken to a lot of voice actors in my career, video games, animation. So one of the things that a lot of them have always said was when you come down to recording, especially in video games, like you said earlier, you don't know what's happening because they keep things kind of secret. Uh, what was the process like when it came to returning as Rio? Like, did you have to uh, fight for your place again? Did you have to like reapply? It's like, oh, we want to bring you back as Rio, but we might change some things, or was it just like, hey, Jacqueline, they're ready to do Spider-Man 2. They're calling you back up for Rio, and you just went back to work. Like, how does that work for you?
Yeah, even though it was some time between the two, between the Miles Morales and Spider-Man 2, getting the call that it was going to move forward, I mean, there's a part of me that feels like I identify with Rio as I am in life sometimes. Perhaps it's because I'm a mom, because I'm Latin American, because I do identify with being very close to my family and speaking Spanish at home. All those elements already exist in me, and applying them to Rio it's not a far stretch. It's just molding them to give her own authentic voice. So I didn't feel like it was hard. I was more just excited. And the research that I did was I just went back to watch and play the first and second games. I felt like I needed to revisit all the scenes as if they just happened, just so that I know where I kind of left off and to fill in the spaces in between with my imagination later, so that when we pick up with Spider-Man 2, it hasn't happened too long ago in my preparation.
Okay. So when you first auditioned for for Rio, did you go in specifically to voice Rio, or did you go in like, hey, they're doing a video game and you might do, because you've done a lot of additional voices in your
Mm-hmm.
time. So
Mm-hmm.
did you go in specifically for Rio, or were you just going in and they give you some generic lines just to see how you do the read?
And I don't recall if it was even the character was given the name at the time or if it was just mom and son, because it was
Mm,
that secretive. It was just two scenes, the original audition, and it was like a live action movie audition. So I think the reason I loved it so much and just brought everything I could to the table was because it was like auditioning for a feature film. So in casting, it was so nice of them. It wasn't just a room with a chair, which is what most auditions are like. They had a couch. There were props. There was a sort of a makeshift coffee table. So there was the recreating sort of that scenario for one of the scenes. And that allowed your imagination to do more, right? It wasn't a big sound stage, but it was an actually filmed, live action audition. So I think that's what made the difference. I love that Insomniac wasn't looking for the sound of a voice. They were looking for a human being that brought Rio to life. That's why I think each character and every actor in this game plays their role like they were just meant to. You know what I mean? When I see the actors, when I watch the game, I'm like, nobody else could have done that because they're just so good at it. And I think that's where Insomniac just like really hit the mark, was in their casting process. They were looking for those actors that we just brought what these characters on paper could be in real life.
So how long did it take between your initial audition and finding out that you're playing Rio? Was it like a long
Mm,
process? They draw it out?
no, I think it was about 2 to 3 weeks.
Oh,
So
wow.
after I left, I left the audition, and and I've told this story before, to others, is I had just had my son. So I was a new mom. I was literally, I think it'd been 20 days since I had him or something like that. So not only was I like so sleep deprived, I did not look good. I did not feel good. I was just like, oh my gosh. So I don't know, but that audition was my second one, because I remember having two auditions in the first 2 weeks after having my son, and that was one of them. And I thought, I'm just going to go because I'm prepared. But man, all I could think of is I just need to sleep. I just need to sleep. And so I forgot about it. I'm busy being a new mom for the first time ever. And I think I got the call that 2 to 3 weeks later that I had been selected for this role for this video game. And was I still interested? And I still didn't know a lot. So I was like, sure, yeah, I'd like to work. I mean, I just gave birth, I hadn't worked through my pregnancy, um, except for, I had been on a show, but like, new things and new ventures, you have to be so careful when you're like big old preggers. Um, so yeah, this was an adventure. Had no idea what I was embarking upon. Just the most exciting thing that's happened.
Sounds so awesome. It sounds like so much at the same time, going straight back to work after after giving birth. So you recorded the real lines as a new mom within like the first year of being a new mom. But from what I remember, Rio didn't sound as if she was super tired. She didn't sound like she was sleep deprived. Like, how did you pull that off?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. I think all of us who love what we do when we're artists, there's a part of you that disconnects from what you're really going on in real life. And you really have to find the authentic character, because Rio had absolutely no relation to just having had a child and going through all this drama.
Yeah.
So but the connection that brought me closer to Rio was having a son, knowing what that's like, and protecting. It's like mama bear, like, if you mess with my cub, I'm going to cut you. So she was ready. And so those scenes where Miles is at risk, or he's going off to look for his dad, thinking something's happened and I'm injured and I don't want him to go, there was all this emotional turmoil in that first game. Um, it just happened naturally. And let's not forget, the writing definitely helps when you have an amazing script and really good writing that isn't forced. It's not exposition. It's just a through like a through line of emotion for a character. It's a gift. We don't have to try that hard. We just have to live it.
That's amazing to hear. So how did you prepare for the scene? I mean, having a newborn child at home. I'm not a dad. I've never experienced the most I've experienced that was my two younger brothers. They have kids, and so I remember when my nieces and nephews were babies. And as an uncle, I've only changed one diaper. Of all my nieces and nephews,
Okay.
I've changed one diaper. Um, did you have to prepare for the script at home? Like, did you read the script at home and try to study your lines? How did you focus between a baby that feels like they never sleep, honestly,
Yeah.
and getting your script right, getting your mind right, and preparing for this? Pretty well, Rio's lines weren't long, but it was still, she was in the game enough to where someone who just had a
Right.
kid is not something you could just roll through. you continuously had to do scenes with Miles, do scenes
Hmm.
with them, with his character over the phone.
Yeah.
How did you do that? How did you pull off being a new mom and actress at the same time with a crying baby?
I I don't know. I mean, I wish I had a really good answer for you, but all I can say is somehow around the times that I was getting, ready to shoot it, go film, and we hit early calls, which is because it's not close to my house where we shoot and the stages. And so it was more about just preparing days before, taking enough time, which I had in between shoot days, um, to be really prepared so that the night before I could just let it go. I usually didn't even really look at it the night before the shoot. Um, there's something that I have to remove myself from it all after I've done my work. Let it go, let it breathe, let it live in you, and then you show up on the day with the script, and I'm highlighting lines on a new set of pages. And then Najee and I would take some time, or with Yuri, who most of my scenes were with, the two of them. And in the first game with Jefferson, we would just, I love how I call him Jefferson and not by his real name. But so we would just take time to do some rehearsals, which we were lucky enough to have, then do rehearsals on stage. And the lines just come to you. I don't even think about the dialogue too much. It just somehow it just comes to you. Like I said, when it's good writing. If it was bad writing, then you struggle. There are those things out there you're like, oh my gosh, why can't I remember that line? But I never had that problem with this character.
It's just so cool to hear so many things that you had to go through. Things you don't even think about when you're playing the
Yeah.
game. You're like, oh, this is a good voice acting. This is good voice acting. I like the performances, but you never think about like, man, these people who read these lines, though, their lives outside of video games. All you think
Yeah.
about is the voice acting.
Right. And the thing is, all of us are on stage with actual, as most people have seen in some of the posts, maybe, and some of the sneak peeks of behind the scenes, we're wearing the suits with the cameras, with the new technology, obviously, that's been out for quite a while now, with the big cameras in front of our faces and on helmets. So all that stuff is what we're wearing shooting the scene. So what you guys are watching has been beautifully put out, the output of this beautiful animation by the animators. I always love how clear and crisp it looks on the screen. But they've used our image, our likeness, our movements to create all that. So that way we're not just the voice. And I think that's what's pretty incredible about this medium, is that you forget that all this stuff is actually being done, and other parts are added by the animators, but we are the movement and the voice of the character.
And that's so cool. Yeah, you don't really think about that. Like we think of motion capturing, but we don't think of the actual characters themselves. So before we move on to the differences between voice acting and acting in front of a camera, did your son ever get to see you in the mocap suit playing Rio?
No, he's not.
Oh.
Yeah, he didn't. I always had really, early calls, and like I said, because the studio is far from where we live, he was, always at home, or already in school now with this last game. So he's never actually seen me, just through photos and stuff.
Oh.
Which, of course. But one day I think he would then, if he saw me in that, then he would think mommy was a superhero. Something about wearing the motion capture with all the dots and all the cameras and the equipment. If he saw that live, he would be like, whoa, now that's cool. So yeah, I hope so
Well,
one day.
yeah, hopefully in the future, maybe during summertime or something, he'll be able to see mom be really cool
Yeah, if I can
in
do
video
other motion
games.
capture roles too, yeah, that would be great.
Okay, so let's talk real quick about that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
There's a huge difference between in a booth, in a recording booth, and singing your lines and having to remember certain things and being able to sit in front of a well, stand in front of a camera and act those things out. What's the biggest challenge between the two?
That is the hardest part of doing a video game. It's less fluid than obviously when you're doing television and film, where everything's captured at once. and it's delivered. Very few times will you, as an actor, go in and redo lines for on camera. It does happen, but it's not common practice, and you don't always have to do it. With motion capture, yes, you're going to go into the voiceover studio. And I think it's the length of time that sometimes happens between having shot the scene, then it has to get animated for the most part. Sometimes it's not animated yet. So you're actually doing your voiceover acting to the idea of what's happened and recalling it instead of watching and following along. So connecting the dots is really the hardest part of this process. The most challenging for me as an actor is like, is the continuity there? You have to remember, was my voice hoarse that day? And obviously they'll replay stuff for you. The production always tried to give us the tools that we needed to put the pieces together. I think that's why this game is so successful, because they paid attention to every detail. And, even with my Spanish, being a Puerto Rican accented Spanish, and, some of the nuances when you speak English from New York, that you're Puerto Rican, we had also a voice coach and an accent coach, just for backup, just in case you needed ears to bounce it off of. And it does happen. So it was nice to just have the ability to have those tools so we could give you guys, because it's for the viewers and the gamers that we want to deliver the perfect product.
That's so cool. Okay, so let's keep it on the whole acting in front of a camera deal, and let's go to two different kind of cameras you've acted in front of. The motion capturing, and as you mentioned before, just live action, regular kind of capturing. When you're doing the two, do they feel different to you? Or like, is there a big difference between how you act towards either camera, or do you just feel like, whether it's motion capturing or regular cameras, they both just feel the same? They feel like, I'm this character, and I just have to remember who these characters are.
There's a cool thing that I love about motion capture, is that because the camera is on your helmet, once after the first game, I got past the weight of it, the tightness, like it has to be fit a certain way. You have to become one with the equipment. Once you get past that, which is kind of can be uncomfortable, then it's no longer an obstacle. And you forget that the camera is literally, the camera's right here. So anything I do, there's this like thing, and you forget that it's filming you. So you're able to just live and look, and I can look anywhere, and there's no other camera, right, that I'm going to interact with or have to worry about, because my main camera's here and the other cameras on set, they'll follow me, they'll follow the scene. So there is that flexibility and freedom with motion capture. The hard thing is it's heavy, battery packs are hot, there's a lot of weight. You can't just literally, when you're going to hug another actor, you can't just hug them and put you have to work around the cameras and make it look very natural so the animators can go in and, add their touch. So it's a dance. It's a dance with equipment on. Whereas live action TV film, you just have to, hit your marks and make sure you never actually look at the camera that's right there, that is your close up and your wide shot camera. So I feel like there's less self-consciousness in the motion cap, but definitely gotta get used to it because of the added, stuff on your body and head.
So I've heard before from people who've done motion capture, they love it, but yeah, they did bring in that the motion capture suits themselves are stiff and pretty uncomfortable. How long did it take for you to get used to something that pretty much inhibited your movement?
I would say the whole first game was adjusting to it again. I had done it before for another game, so it wasn't foreign to me. I'd done it for Quantum Break years ago, and that was a challenge. That was my first time. It was just so much. It was a lot. By the time I did the Spider-Man games, I felt like, oh, I got this. you know. And there's this cool thing that you do that, most people who've not done motion capture might not know, but once we have the suit and all the cameras on, they have to calibrate us for movement so they can get all the spots on your body and on your face and your head and everything to animate you. You stretch. And I had these like probably 3-inch heel type boots on. So that's also like not easy, you know. So okay. And you stretch and you balance on one leg and you balance on the other and you squat and you do this and so you're doing all this stuff like a workout with all this equipment on. But it is helpful. And it was like, second nature. Once you've done it, it was like, oh yeah, let's get back. And it helps me embrace Rio Morales since Jackie doesn't do that in life. Once that's on, that's the thing that helps me embrace Rio and go, okay, I'm in.
That's awesome. Actually, I'm glad you brought up Quantum Break. I was trying to figure out a way to bring Quantum Break into this because
Oh,
it was one of my favorite games. I felt that it was criminally underrated.
yeah,
Uh,
I agree.
yeah,
It's
Quantum
so
Break was
good.
just it was so cool. Yeah, yeah. And you were in the live action parts of it. You were in the game. I'm sorry, I have to go back and see the character's name. It was Doctor.
Dr. Sophia Amaral.
Sorry, Sophie.
Yes.
I'm guessing you really love that character.
I loved Sophia. Yes, I will always love that character and the cast I got to work with on that. Again, I love these games because they are like being in a live action movie. And it's like super action packed and
Yeah.
it's exciting, but there's mystery and there's adventure and there's action. So yeah, that's really up my alley.
Yeah. So what was your experience like working on Quantum Break? Because it was something that felt so different from many of the other games that we had at the time. Um, they were blending the video games with the live action, and like they made sure that they were going to use a likeness of the actors in the video game, so that way when they cross, you can tell who is who,
Hmm.
and the face capturing of the game is just brilliant, and everybody looks like them within the game.
I know.
And at the time when that game came out, it was like, oh my goodness, this is so cool.
Ah,
Like not a whole lot of games
so
are
cool.
doing this. So what was your experience like working on something that felt so groundbreaking at the time?
It was exhilarating. That really was just so incredibly cool. And that company also took us to where the studios were in Finland. So
Oh,
we flew to Finland several times to do the work there. And then we did some work here. And then we did the live action show in Atlanta. And I love being in Atlanta so much. So it was just, I mean, imagine travel for work. I mean, come on, twist my arm. So, you know, I couldn't have asked for more uh, like a welcoming experience to motion capture than that, because I mean, the travel part made it like, all right, fine, I'll wear this stuff, like it was all new to
yeah.
me at the time, but it was very exciting. And the actors too were really great to work with. So I was lucky.
So did it you were already doing live action TV shows and stuff before Quantum
Hmm.
Break.
Hmm.
And like you said, it was a new experience for you. Did it feel like second nature when they did say act once you put after you got used to the motion capture and they said action and they let you just be your character? Did it feel like second nature to you, or did it feel like a huge adjustment acting wise?
Acting wise, it's not, but like you were saying, others have told you that the movement makes you feel a little stiff, a little stagnant. That was the challenge, was not getting in your head about, am I moving naturally? Am I looking? Do I feel? Do I look like I? Da, da, da? You're playing that in your head because at the time it was the first time that I was truly, and there was a lot of action in that game for me, a physical action.
Yeah.
So running and jumping and falling with the equipment on, obviously being careful, but and we were coached and we had stunt workers that helped us. That was a real challenge, and I always had to wear heels because I'm 5'2", and a lot of the actors are taller. So I'm like, all right, fine. So I'm 5'4", 5'5", with my added height. So I'm always having to run in these like heels. So that was hard. but it's part of the adventure. I go with it. I just go with the flow. I'm like, whatever we need to do to make the character be truthful and genuine and authentic and bring those lives to life, let's just do it.
Okay. So you've done actions before. You were in Bosch, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
You're in Bosch, and you're in the new Bosch Legacy,
Mhm.
which they just premiered their season two, I believe, not too long ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. What was more fun for you, doing the action, like film, TV, live action, or doing it with motion capture because it did feel something challenging and different for you?
I um I find, sorry, I'm going to move this here. Okay, there. Oh, look, you can see him. um, I'm so used to doing film and television just as is live action that that's really just natural to me. It's what we're used to. Um, the biggest challenge and adapting to motion capture and video games, just it's just something new. It's just a new medium. But now I also feel like it's very natural to me. So if I were to be offered to do other video games with motion capture, I'd feel like, sure, let's roll up our sleeves and let's play. So as actors, I think we have to be adaptable and go with it. And it's always going after what is this character about and bringing that character to life authentically. As long as I do that, wherever we play, whatever medium, doesn't matter. I'm, you know, I have to be true to the genuine character, the authenticity of it.
That sounds so awesome. So when you're working on Quantum Break and they give you the script, because I'm sure it was a massive script. Was it two separate scripts, one for the game that they give you in the studio, and then one for the live action stuff?
Yeah, we
Or
did totally separate stuff, and we did it so that it was mostly always video game. And then I don't know if you can hear the pitter patter of doggies, but I have doggies walking all around.
that's
Sorry.
okay. I'm hoping mine doesn't start barking and clawing
Oh,
at the
okay.
door.
um, but we did the live action all in Atlanta, over a period of, I think it was like 2 months. So and it was busy. I mean, that was really busy and night shoots. And I mean, it was like really shooting a show. So you're on all the time. Whereas with motion capture, you do it in spurts, you do it in pieces. Also because of the amount of work that it takes the animators to then take that material and work on it, perfect it. Whatever's missing, they have to bring it back. Do we have to reshoot? There's always those questions. So, but it's really exciting. And for anybody out there who wants to ever, be an actor or get involved in video games or be a part of that medium, I think you'd be up for the challenge. I think you would love the adventure of any video game. It's such a fun thing. You just never know what's going to come up, and you just go with it.
So just a couple of fun questions. How long does it usually take to get set up in those mocaps? Because I know when it comes to makeup and hair in movies, it take hours.
Hours, right?
So
Yeah.
yeah, so what about getting set up in mocap? Like how strenuous is that?
Mocap's not that hard. So it's actually cool because you just go with no makeup and nothing, just you, and you could be wearing your pajamas to work if you want. You show up, you have to put on your suit, which is like putting on a unitard. So they're not sexy. So definitely not cute, sexy outfits. And you're all Velcro, so you can't like lean on anything that you might be Velcroed to. But other than that, they put on the dots, you put your hair up in a ponytail, and the cameras go on your head, and you're done. So probably tops, maybe a 30-minute process.
Oh wow.
Yeah, super
That
easy.
sounds
And
that
yeah,
sounds way better.
oh, way better. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but again, so you give up one thing for the other. You don't look super cute and you're not going to be super sexy in your outfit, but it is going to be quick and easy. So, you win some, you lose some.
Yeah, gotta give and take, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So last question is about video games, and then we can move on to learn more about you as a person and an actress. Yeah, you said that you've played the Spider-Man games with your son. Have you played Quantum Break? Did you ever get a look at that? And
Yes.
yeah.
It was so hard for me. But then again, look, I'm not the savviest gamer, I'll be honest, and not just because I'm a mom and I've got a million other things going on. But even with the Spider-Man, I like hand it over to my husband or my son. My husband just wants to hog it all up. So I have to you know, try it a little bit. But Quantum Break was really hard for me. And I was just so invested in it in different ways because it's so dramatic and it's heavy material. So I found that to be quite challenging. And at the time, it was one of my first experiences with that kind of game and console. So, but then as time goes on and you get more into it, you're like, oh, I get it. After you play it a couple times, you want to
Yeah.
like do it more because it's almost like easier. So you go, oh, I got this. So it empowers you a little bit to think like you're this super savvy gamer, but
Yeah.
only if I play that game now. So if you throw a new one at me, it might take me a little bit. So even with Spider-Man 2 now, I've just dabbled in the beginning. I haven't even gotten that far. I mean, it's only been a few days, and I can't unfortunately just stay up all night and finish the quests. But I'm on it slowly.
That's great. Oh man, so your husband plays video games, your
He
son plays
loves
video
them.
games. I bet your husband is absolutely ecstatic about you like being in video games. You're like, oh yeah,
He
I'm being
kind
in
of
video
is.
games. Like, yes. Yeah.
I think so. He doesn't say much, but he kind of is. I gather from the few things I've seen, and when he gets totally into it with my son, they're both just like, I have to be like, guys, we have to eat. It's like dinner time. Guys, it's lunchtime. Like, hello. So yeah, they get into it.
All right, so great. So when your husband first played Quantum Break and he saw you, was he like, I know that person, I know that doctor, I know that woman. Like how cool was it to like your wife is in a video game? Like, it had
He
to be
loved
so
it. He thought he didn't know what to expect. So when it looked exactly like me, he's like, oh my gosh, he looks like you. It's really you. I'm like, yeah. So that was a really cool experience because it was, and some of that technology with the cameras on our heads and everything, it was just out. That was one of the first games to use it. So that had to be a lot of top secret. Like I couldn't say anything for the longest time with that one. Yeah.
I bet your husband usually press you by that stuff. Was like, now I know you can't talk about Spider-Man 2, but what can you say about Spider-Man 2? So that's gotta be a lot in
Yeah.
your household. Like, oh yeah, mommy's doing video games. And like
And you know what?
I'm sure they want to know everything.
Yeah, I never said anything to him about it. It was just better to not
Oh,
talk about it so that he wouldn't be tempted to ask me details or no details.
okay.
He's like, how'd it go at work? I'm like, it was great. Did great today. I mean, there were a few times when I came home and I was like, man, Nadia and I just killed it today. We had such great scenes because there were days when I just had to share how good I knew a scene had turned out simply because I knew the chemistry that Nadia and I had on camera with those scenes. It was just, I couldn't even describe it with words. It's in the moment. It happened. And we just knew. I'm like, that's it right there. We were both like, yes. So that was a good feeling. But that's as far as I would tell my husband. No details. I wouldn't talk about it. And so now that it's out, he was like, oh my God. So now I go back and tell him the stories of when we were shooting certain scenes and he gets it. He connects the two. So
Oh man, that's gonna be torture to not be able to
yeah.
share those kind of things with your husband. You know he's excited. He's like super happy about it.
Yeah. Can't
Oh
talk about it for
man.
2 years. Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right. So, Miss Jacqueline, let's talk about you for a moment. How did you get into the acting business? Like, what made you think like acting is for me? This is what I want to do.
I think there's a part of us that always kind of, well, most of us, some of us don't find out for a long time. My youngest sister didn't know what she wanted to do for the longest time. But those of us who do, I knew since the age of about 12, definitively, that what I wanted to do with my life was pursue acting. To what degree, under what medium, I wasn't specific. I just knew that I loved to be on stage. So plays, musicals, anything where I could be on stage or in front of a camera playing other roles. Because I wasn't the kind of kid that was like show offy and always wanting to perform. That wasn't really me. It was more me wanting to escape maybe reality and play other roles and be other things because that was more fun. So I've always had that in me. And it was something that I just, followed whatever opportunities in school, never underestimate those drama classes and music and choir and orchestra. I mean, I was in all of them. Whatever the arts got to offered in our school, I took part in. And I found that to be my avenue into pursuing it as I got older.
So cool. So you've done a lot of ADR work. Like a lot of ADR. So
Yeah.
you spend a good bit in the in the booth.
Hmm.
Um, what what made you say voice acting is it? Because voice acting and being on stage, being on camera, like that's the stark difference right there. So
Yeah. Yeah.
what pushed you into just being like, I don't want to just be in the camera. I'm okay with just being a voice.
I think, what it is too for me is the languages. You know how you're talking about like why I learn or how I learn different languages. That brought me to the voiceover aspect of acting without meaning to. Because I could speak Spanish as my first language, and because I learned French and Italian just because I love them, it's just easy for me to learn languages. So I just did. I don't know. I think that's really weird, but in my free time, I would just learn foreign languages, whether it was listening to tapes, reading books, watching movies, and in foreign languages always, especially French films, and then listening to music in other languages. That spoke to me. And so I wanted to do more of it. Yeah. And so I think my agents, I must have been maybe 19 or 20 when radio spots in Spanish, needed more actors to do both English and Spanish. So they'd call me in and be like, hey, are you interested in doing both? Then I would do TV commercials. And I put myself through college. I started making money that way to put myself through college in that way. So I couldn't say no because my parents couldn't really afford to put me through school. And I had gotten into, a university and I needed help monetarily. So I found that, if I keep doing commercials and radio, why not? So not only was it fun, but I was paying for school. So it was really important for me to go to college. So
That's really awesome. Uh, Man, so let's talk about your ability to learn because I've tried learning different. I tried learning sign language. I'm bad at it. I tried learning Spanish. I'm terrible at it. I can count to maybe four or five in Spanish. So I'm
Oh,
like a
come
two.
on.
Yeah, I'm like a 2-year-old. I don't know words. But five. I'm not gonna look at my notes. I'm gonna see if I can remember. Other than
Okay,
of
okay.
course
Yeah.
English and Spanish.
Uh-huh.
There's French, Italian, and Mandarin.
Yes, conversational now because
Haha.
I will tell you, I was definitely more fluent in Mandarin when I studied it. I did go to Beijing and I was there for a summer program, and that allowed me to, become quite fluent in it while I was there.
Hmm.
But now, when you come back to the States, if you don't use it a lot and you don't practice, that is the one language because it's tonal and it's all about sounds that you lose the correct pronunciation of words with the right tones. Um, but fun fact, my husband, who is not of Asian descent, lived in Beijing and Hong Kong for many years prior to us meeting up. And he's fluent in Mandarin. And it's just by
Ah.
coincidence. I had already studied Mandarin when I met him, but he's fluent. And so it's really nice to have him use it because he writes music in Mandarin and translates scripts for people and stuff. So I still have such an ear for it. And our son is learning basic Mandarin right now. So I just
That's
love to have it
cool.
in my life because I love Mandarin. I love the language and the culture. So I just think we just have to keep practicing. So anyone out there who, like you said, if you're bad at it, you would just have to be immersed in it in order to, and that's true of any language. But the Romance languages are also similar. It's just not that hard to learn them. Once you know one, you can learn the others really quickly.
Well, you know what they say, it's easy when you're young. Like once you start getting older, it becomes a little harder to learn
Yeah, that's true.
languages.
That is true, though. Yes, that's
So,
funny.
so the point that you just know like five different languages, it's like it's kind of mind-boggling, really, when you think about it. It's like, why would you need to even know that many languages? But it's like, I don't know, for some people, it really is kind of fun. So,
Yeah, I think I just, and I also traveled a lot my whole life. Since I was a kid, my parents, we traveled a lot and in college, and I've always loved, and I would get frustrated if I went somewhere and I couldn't communicate with the natives. I was like, as a kid, it was really silly, but I would stress and I'd be like, what if I go there and I can't talk to anyone? What am I going to do? I'm going to have to learn the language before I go there. And that just kind of stuck with me. And nobody taught me that, but I don't know. I just felt like, how could I not? I think that's why I did dabble in Mandarin because I was going to go there. I went, uh, as a tourist, and it was just, I couldn't understand anything. And I was so frustrated. So I came back, I started learning it. I enrolled in university there and I went back and I'm like, I'm going to learn this because I need to know what they're saying. I need to know what that sign says. Like it was just that for me.
That's cool. So how do you learn? Let's make it easier. How do you actually learn? Like, because learning two languages is already hard.
Mhm.
So learning four or five, like, how do you do it?
I'm more, sometimes I'm visual, but just the auditory part of it is really it. I just have to hear things over and over and over again. Which is why music, for anyone who wants to learn any language, I say listen to music in that language and learn the songs and look up the lyrics and just sing along, even if you don't know what you're saying yet. And it just sticks. And then you start to sing this song and you know it by heart in a foreign language, even if you don't know what you're saying. And so for me, that's how I learned music and visual mediums like TV and film. Watching, you know, foreign TV was absolutely for me the starter. Then I would go enroll in school and do the grammar and the this and the that. But first, you got to get your feet wet and start having it in your life and being around
I mean, in America, that shouldn't be too hard. Like,
it. Yeah,
we're a
exactly.
very
I know.
diverse country, so you should be able to
Yeah.
find somebody.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's just so much though. But apparently, you just love to learn new languages, which is actually really cool.
Yeah.
Have you got a chance to use any of those languages in your work? Like, have you been able to do something where you were able to speak Mandarin or French?
Yes, I think that's helped increase the ability for me to work more. And then, sorry, I don't know if you hear the gardener outside, but we have a gardener and he's the leaf blower. Gotta love those leaf blowers.
I don't hear
Um,
anything.
oh, good. I I have played quite a few roles and auditioned for many roles that I didn't book, but I had the opportunity to audition for because I knew French or because I knew Italian, and obviously in Spanish. I've had a chance to, work in foreign countries and work in Spanish. So I love it so much. Nothing gives me more pleasure than just getting sinking in my teeth into a role where I can use another language. Probably also why I love Ria Morales so much is because I was able to give her life in another language and bring that to audiences, and that's so cool to me. I mean, that's what brings us all together anyway, is seeing that we're all the same and that our differences can enhance our opportunity to connect and communicate.
Yeah, you were also in Into the Spider-Verse. I don't know
As
which character.
ADR.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
I don't know
yeah.
what character you voiced though. Like, was it just
you
a
know
random?
it was background voices because they needed Latino and Latina women and men and younger voices that give life to those scenes during, Miles, walking through the city and being at school and hiding and all those background sounds and voices that you hear, they all have to be filled in by, live actors. So that was us, a group of us who did it. Yeah.
That's cool. Do you ever hope that maybe Spider-Verse Rio and Insomniac Games Rio would ever cross paths and meet one another?
I've never thought of that actually. Nobody's ever asked me that. But I wouldn't put it past Insomniac or Marvel to come up with some, once it's like they always have to top everything they do, which is
Yeah,
so funny. They top themselves. But it's always kind of exciting to be like, who knows what they'll come up with next. I'm always, I love the mystery of it all. I love not knowing and not being told anything about what's coming up because then there's something to look forward to always.
that'd be honestly, I thought it'd be kind of cool. When I found out you were in Spider-Verse, like, I don't know who exactly that she do voice work for. So I was trying to
Mhm.
remember everybody, all I was trying to remember all the voices. I was like, no, none of them sound familiar, but
No, yeah, and it was
now I
it was
know.
random. It was random roles, yeah. So, but at least we know that it's nice to give opportunity to and see these different mediums, um, give opportunity to various actors that we can all bring authenticity. Do you know what I mean? I love that there's more work for more people today. When I was much younger, there wasn't a whole lot of opportunity for us Latino actors, and so now there is, and it's fun to see that.
I know that was one thing people really loved about Rio was that she was that Spanish mom that spoke English, but then spoke Spanglish, but she
Hmm.
speaks Spanish too. It's like it was.
Yeah.
I I loved because I never thought about that myself, um, but because I've had a lot of Latin American friends, and I never like you hear stories about their home life and whatnot. It's like, oh man, my mom is just like she's such a stereotypical Spanish mom, and like you never really get it, but when you get to see it, it's like it's not that much
That's
different
what it
from
is.
my yeah, it's like it's not that different from my mom, but at the same
Mhm.
time, it feels kind of different. It is that
Right.
cultural shift. It's like that's kind of cool to see. So like I don't know, hopefully we will see more stuff like that to where we can see stories with more more ethnic parents, like being able to see actually see
Right.
them in the foreground, kind of like Pixar's Turning Red. The
Oh
mom, yeah,
yeah.
the mom actually got to be a character, and we got to see a bit of like, yeah, there's just in the Asian home, like, yeah, some moms they mean well, but you know they're kind of harsh and they're still loving. So like
Hmm.
seeing that kind of stuff and like seeing Rio in different ways in the movies and video games, like it's the same character, but they also feel different. So
Right.
like it's
Exactly.
really
Yeah.
cool to see that kind of stuff. So what about writing? Have you ever thought about taking a crack at writing, maybe doing something for animation?
As an artist, I think, yes, it's important for us to dabble in all the different areas of our craft. Also because as an actor who has to look at someone else's writing and execute it, but I've only written things like a short film, and recently, because I finished a documentary series based on dog rescue, I definitely ended up learning to write documentary style and do all the voiceovers and all the narration and the direction of that series. I've never written for animation or anything. It's not something that I see myself doing, but I never close the door on the possibility or any opportunity. I think things happen to us in life that take us in certain directions. Like what, I happen to just fall into this opportunity to feel driven to make a documentary about dog rescue. But if something brought me to where I'm like, I have to write this and either perform it or cast it or direct it or produce it, I am open to that. And there's so much opportunity now, and also there's less ageism now. I think we can be any age and do anything. So who knows? Maybe when I'm old and gray, I'll be writing something that is like great and casting all the young actors in it. So I definitely think it's an exciting door that I haven't fully opened, but I am definitely available to the opportunity one day.
So this is a generic set of questions I always ask some
Okay.
of the actors that I had the chance to interview. For people who want to get into acting, for people who want to do stage plays and stuff. You also have the experience for that. You've done theater, you've done music and whatnot. For the people who are just starting out, like you're nervous, you don't know the first step to take. What would be Miss Jacqueline's advice for the wannabe actor or actress or the theater kid who wants to take a dip into
Hmm.
acting, but they're kind of scared to take that first step?
Um, you have to just, if you really want it, you have to do it. So fear is only your mind telling you. If you allow to just put that voice aside and let your body take over and jump into a scene, jump into a class, uh, try out for a play. Um, and rejection doesn't mean you're not good at it. Rejection doesn't mean you should never try. Rejection just means like, okay, find a different opportunity and a different door to open to keep trying, because as actors, one thing you will learn is we will get rejected a lot, Like it's you learn to embrace rejection and move on. So for everyone who wants to start out, get into a class, find classes. And if that class didn't work out, doesn't speak to you, don't give up. Go to a different one. Just keep at it. You can't give up.
Now, this isn't a thing that I was going to bring up, but you did talk about rejections. Uh, I've gotten into my mind that maybe I can do voice acting or something before because I've done plenty of interviews, so I know how to talk to people. Yay!
Yay.
And I've talked to a lot of voice actors in my time. Like there's a couple that like put into your head, like, yeah, man, you got the voice, you can do it. I've tried auditioning myself, and I'm gonna be honest, that rejection, I've been rejected for an indie video game voice acting gig. And the letter they sent me was, hey, you were good, but we found someone who could do an accent that we liked. And so they went with that. So for people like myself or people who are just getting started who can't do accents or who can't like speak
Mhm.
another language, do you think, as someone who's done plenty, do you
Mhm.
think that they're at a bit of a disadvantage compared to others who can speak another language or who can sing or who can do an accent?
Um, no, because I think what you have to find is what are you really good at with your voice and focus on making that your niche. Once you get in with your niche, then you expand. So you could be a host, you could be a radio broadcaster, a journalist, a newscaster. You have the voice for that. And those are the kinds of roles you could possibly start with and really hone in on the skill of what your voice is already good at. And then once they go, oh, yeah, I love his voice for that newscaster. Then you've played 10 newscasters because that's what you're really good at. Then suddenly they go, wait a minute, but you know what? He'd be good as the doctor or the fireman. Or let's bring him in for, and then that's how it starts growing.
Okay.
So find the one thing, whether you're pursuing voice or live action, that brings your authenticity, your uniqueness out. Focus on that and just keep doing it over and over and over again. That's how I think nowadays, with so much competition, so much opportunity, and so many people doing it, you will find your door to open.
All right. So one of the things about voice acting is, of course, hearing your own voice. And it's well known a lot of people do not like the sound of their own voice, especially during a recording. Did you ever feel that way? And if so, how did you get over mentally that, okay, I have to get over that my voice doesn't sound good because I know for other people it sounds just fine.
Right, exactly. It does sound just fine. So I think it's practice. The more you do it, you just get used to it. And you just have to do it a lot. And I've done it, gosh, now thousands of hours probably in my lifetime, thousands of hours. So when I was young, I would re-record my voicemail greeting for maybe 45 minutes for a 10-second greeting because I'm like, no, 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 that doesn't sound good. And you delete. I mean, hi, this is Jackie. No, 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 that doesn't sound. And you do it over. And nowadays it's like I just pick it up once. I'm like, hey, it's Jackie. Leave me a message. Thanks. Bye. And like, you just get it. So I think again, practice, practice, practice makes perfect. You got to put in those 10,000 hours in any craft, in any medium that you're pursuing. I think it's just about getting really comfortable knowing that you've done it enough that you're good at it.
Because I'll tell you right now, I don't listen to a lot of I used to edit my own videos and stuff, and I did not like listening back to my own
Oh,
recordings. And I know,
really?
yeah, and I know a lot of people highly dislike that. So if you're trying to be like a real voice actor, I just did it for the fun of it. But for those who like really want to be a voice actor, who really want to get out there and do it, is there kind of like a shortcut or kind of like a cheat that you can use? Like, oh, you
Hmm.
can use your friends for this, or like maybe there's like a quick little cheat that they can do to kind of like get themselves into that rhythm. Because once you hear
Um,
yourself, it kind of makes you want to stop.
right. Well, I don't know if it's a cheat because if you're gonna do it, you're gonna have to end up kind of coming to terms with like, this is my sound. embracing that sound, empowering yourself to say, this is my sound and no one else's, because no one else has that sound. It's like a thumbprint, it's like a fingerprint, right? So it's your uniqueness and learning to love and embrace that. But to get over it, you could practice, give yourself like 3 voices that sound different than yours, that are characters that you start to perfect. Maybe you have an animated voice. Maybe you have, the radio voice. Maybe you have a different character that you envision yourself sounding like, and using that as a way to get into this constant rhythm of, oh, that's my Dr. So and so, and that's my, animated blah, 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 So I think that's a way to embrace the sounds of your voice, your own voice.
That sounds easy when you say it.
I
It really
know, I
does.
know.
It sounds easy. So, going back to talking about you professionally, how do you prepare yourself for voice acting scenes?
Reading the script a lot and understanding, just like you would in a live action movie, just like you would in a script that you're acting out in live action, same way. And then when you show up, sorry, there's a gardener. You really can't hear that?
No,
Oh my
ma'am.
God, it's killing me. It's killing me. But anyway, so long story short, I make sure that I know it like the back of my hand, so that when I'm in the booth, I'm free. And even though the lines are in front of me, I don't always need them. I have them as a reference, but the voice has to live in my body. It's not just from here up. I bend my knees, I use my arms, I use my whole body, standing still because you can't make too many sounds. But it definitely gives me the tools that I need to bring that voice to life, because especially if it's animation, you want the animator to have your voice and fill it with the visuals. You're helping an animator with your own voice.
That sounds cool. Like that sounds awesome. I would really love to see like a professional
The
voice
process.
actor at
Yeah.
work. Yeah, that would be pretty cool. So let's talk about some of the great things you're doing outside of acting. And
Mhm.
of course, you brought it up earlier. I'm talking about your canine condition, the
Yes.
Canine Condition Foundation. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So basically, after I finished making the documentary series, which is now in film festivals, it is a documentary series based on dog rescue, and just sort of giving an overview of the problem that we have in our country with dog homelessness and abandonment, and there being too many dogs and not enough families for them, but empowering the viewer to find different places in every city and state in the country where people are helping and where you can help, right? So it's kind of like a look into dog rescue and how to volunteer, so once I finished that, I felt like I love dogs so much. I have 5 of my own. I couldn't just walk away from it. I couldn't just be like, okay, done, bye. It's not a box to be checked. It was part of my life. It's part of um, my everyday. Dogs are family to me. So I thought the best way for me to continue to help, even though I'm no longer making the documentary series, is to start a nonprofit foundation. And we've gotten a lot of support, and we're just trying to grow that support into funding spay and neuter and basic vetting for family pets. We find that more families are able to keep their dogs and not surrender them or rehome them or abandon them if they can keep them spayed, neutered, vaccinated, and healthy. So with vet bills, with inflation, veterinary prices are higher than ever before, as is everything else really in this country. We want to give back by saying, yes, we will spay, neuter, and vaccinate your dog for free. Just contact us, right? So we've been very lucky, and we look for funding from private donors, from grants. Anyone who wants to donate, it's a tax deductible donation to the foundation. And those of us, it's a group of friends and myself who support me in volunteering. All we do is volunteer to get the work done by setting up veterinary appointments for the families and paying the bill with the donations that we receive. And hopefully we'll make even a small dent in the homeless pet population. Would be a huge help today. And it's nice when families don't have to worry about accidental litters or my dog getting sick because it wasn't spayed or neutered. And it's just something positive that we can do and put out into the world today.
So how long have this foundation been around? Because honestly, it wasn't until I started setting things up to interview with you that I've heard of it.
Oh, well, we just launched this year
Oh,
because
okay.
I've been doing the documentary series and for several years now. And we just finished production in January, and we wrapped it up and we entered festivals and we've won some awards, for being an inspirational film, for documentary themes, for what we're addressing, for the cause that we're helping. And I felt like it was time to start the foundation. We launched this year. So we're fairly new, and that's what's exciting too, is that we've already received a lot of support because people can go back and see that through our social media page, the Canine Condition. We've been at this for years, helping on our own, my husband and I, friends, and all the rescue organizations that we highlight in the documentary series. We've become friends. Some of them are like family to me. They're in Georgia, they're in New Jersey, they're in Arizona, Illinois, all over the states. We are helping families together. And so it's really nice to know that no matter where you live, if you're in the USA, we can help you. And we also want help from those who want to help the cause.
And I'm going through the site right now,
Mhm.
because we will have everything linked in our descriptions. So if you do want to donate, you do want to see the docu-series, we'll have the we will have the website
Yeah.
set up for you guys.
Oh, cool.
And also, you have a podcast, the Canine Condition podcast. Um, is that ongoing, or was it it was also like a docu series where it's just a short few episodes?
We did 50 episodes, 2 seasons. Each season is 25 episodes. And then this season we took a break to get the documentary out and go to all the festivals. So I'm gonna bring the podcast back in the spring. And it's only because I take a lot of pride in my work, and I want to be 100% present. And you know what it's like interviewing. It's a lot of preparation, a lot of research, a lot of work. So right now I was giving my heart and time into the documentary to make sure that we were putting out the best of each episode. We made 14 episodes, and until we get through the festival circuit, until January, it's not going to be released. And then after, we'll be able to show all the episodes, hopefully get distribution, and we have some possible licensing opportunities to get it out so people can see it. And then I'll have the time and the headspace to devote to the podcast again, and continue the message of the documentary via podcast.
Okay. So I'm actually part of a furry convention called Tales of Tornadoes FurCon. Uh, those kind of conventions, they always love working with the foundations that you guys have.
Really?
Yeah, so this isn't technically part of the interview, but
Yeah, it's okay. I love
uh,
it.
but
Anything
yeah,
to help doggies.
if you look up any fur conventions in your area or local to you, I'm sure you can reach out to them. They would love to.
What is it called? Tell me. I'll write it down.
Well, I don't know about our
Right.
organization, but yeah, but furry conventions,
Okay.
they're
I'll just
all
look up.
yeah, they're all over the place.
Okay. I'll
The one
just
up
say that.
here in Oklahoma, there's
Mm-hmm.
actually there's actually a couple. We have a few, even a new one that's coming out. They always look to find uh, foundations such as yours that helps out animals, and they do what do we do? Auctions. They do
Yeah.
auctions at these places, and they raise thousands of dollars.
Oh, that's so
Yeah,
good.
just
Yeah, to
yeah, and
help.
yeah, it's amazing. And the people that go to these conventions, they love helping.
Oh,
Uh,
good. Okay.
they a lot of them they volunteer their time.
Hmm.
They donate, they spread the word. So yeah, I think this is really cool. I'm always in support for these kind of foundations. Anything above PETA. I know it's probably a controversial
Yes.
thing, but anything above PETA,
Right.
anything that does more than just euthanize dogs,
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm in full support of foundations that actually does something to help pups, help the families.
Yeah, and help the
Uh,
families because we
yeah,
can't just help dogs. We have to help the humans because the humans are in
yeah,
charge of the pups.
yeah. And a lot of these people,
Yeah.
those dogs are like a big part of their family. Like that's their babies.
Yeah,
So
I
yeah,
agree.
I'm always down for these kind of foundations.
Oh,
So
I'm so
I'm
glad. Good
yeah, so
deal.
I'm,
So
I'm
now you know
definitely
about us.
I am, and I'm definitely gonna keep up with what you guys do because
Okay.
I think it's pretty awesome.
Thank you.
Yes. All right. So, Ms. Jack, is there anything else that you would love to talk about? Anything that you're working on that you would like to mention that I missed out on? Because I talked about Bosch Legacy. Bosch Legacy, which you can see right now on Freevee. You can also see the original Bosch, I believe, on Prime Video. And of course, you can buy and play Spider-Man 2
Oh, yes.
right now exclusively on PlayStation 5. So, Miss Jackie, before I let you go, is there anything else that you would love to talk about? Anything that your foundation is doing, anything that you're working on that you can talk about, anything at all?
Well, gosh, it's just been, you covered it all. And I have to say, thank you for your time and for being so thorough, and allowing us actors to be on your platform to share so much good stuff. I think we live in a tough time sometimes out here. And, there's so many ups and downs for everybody nowadays. So you bring about just the positive side of life and the goodness and the joys that we should take time to enjoy. And I think just I'll leave you with enjoy Spider-Man 2. We're very excited. All the work that everybody did behind and in front of the cameras, it was just to create that added element of joy and surprise and just a little escape from reality for a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's all. Just enjoy it. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Shannon, thank you for taking your time. I know you're a busy person, so I'm always appreciative when anybody, writers, webcomic artists, actors, actor directors, whenever any of you take your time to talk to me, because I'm not really
Yeah.
a big YouTuber. I'm not a well-known journalist and all that. So like it's always great.
No, it's
And
great.
I always appreciate that you all take the time out of your busy schedules to speak with me.
You bet. Absolutely. Thank you. And share it with me so I can share it with my
Uh,
my following and all the fans out there.
oh, absolutely. And of course, you can all see this on bagelgames.com. You can also see it on my YouTube page. And for those of you who love podcasts, you can also listen to this interview on Power Up and Game, where my friend Taylor and I talk about all kinds of stupid things where we pretend that we know what we're talking about, but in reality, we don't. But Miss Jacqueline, again, thank you so much for taking the time to
Of
speak with
course.
me. And I hope we can do this again someday.
Why not? Let's catch up another time. I'm sure there'll be more things coming, and we just keep our fingers crossed and yeah, hit me up and we'll definitely chat again.
Oh, awesome. I look forward to it.
Okay, take care. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, bye.